Audience feedback was really useful during the production stages of my trailer. I was able to ask my target demographic about what they thought of the trailer so far, meaning that I could improve the quality of the trailer. One thing I learnt that the first screen on the trailer was good, given that it was conventional and all films must have a film classification screen. However, I learnt that it was not played for a long enough duration, meaning that if I wanted to make it more realistic and like a real trailer, then I would have to extend the shot so that it was played for longer. As you can see, the shot is only played for a short duration of time. This is not conventional given that film trailers normally play the shot for a longer duration so that audiences have a chance to read it. Therefore, from my audience feedback, I learned that to make my product more professional looking and believable, I would need to extend this shot. Here you can see I was able to learn from my audience feedback by extending the duration of the shot. This made the shot more professional looking and gave the audience a chance to read the shot. It is important that they have a chance to read the shot given that this informs them of the age classification of the film. Therefore, it is possible to say that I learnt from the audience feedback about how to improve the quality of the shot so that my trailer was more conventional and appealed to my target demographic. Another thing that I learnt from the audience feedback was that the high-angle shot of Georgia on the bed at the start of the trailer needed to be extended slightly longer so that she closed her eyes within the shot. This would help the audience to understand the narrative of the film, given that it would make it more obvious that she is closing her eyes to remember the happy times within her life. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that in order to make it clearer about what was going on in the narrative of my film, I would need to reshoot this shot in order to get her to close her eyes for the duration. As you can see, I learnt from my audience feedback given that I was able to reshoot the shot so that she closed her eyes towards the end of the shot. This meant that my shot was better given that it successfully helped to encode meaning about the narrative of my trailer. Therefore, it is possible to say that I learnt from my audience feedback about different ways in which I could reshoot or tweak the shots in order to help my audience understand the narrative of my film. This was really good given that it ensured my shots were concise and were helping the audience to understand the narrative and the genre of my film. Therefore, I think it is possible to say that this audience feedback was really useful and I learned a lot from it. My audience feedback informed me that the way in which I had edited and cut and filmed the trailer up to the first section was really good. They informed me that the slow pace and long duration shots helped to encode a relaxed and calm atmosphere, which is what we were trying to achieve. Therefore, they said that I should not focus on editing this part of the trailer anymore, given that it was of a good high quality. However, they did inform me that when I reached a certain shot, this shot needed work on. This shot was the shot of a picture of Georgia in the mirror. They said that the shot was a bit unsteady and a bit blurry, therefore in order to improve my trailer I should reshoot this shot. I also learnt that the lighting in this shot was not as good as it could be, meaning that it was making it harder to focus on the image, hence it being of a worse quality. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that in order to improve the quality of this shot, I would need to think about the lighting and what time of day I filmed it. Therefore, in order to improve the quality of my work, the best way to go about it would be to either get a lighting tripod or film it in the naturalistic daylight. Therefore, from my audience feedback, I learnt not only what shot to improve, but different techniques which I could use to improve it. I learned from this audience feedback given that I was able to go away and reshoot this shot. I reshoot the shot in many different ways given that I learnt the more reshoots you take, the more options you have. Therefore, I took lots of different reshots and then took them back to Eleni so we could upload them onto her laptop. These improved the quality of our work given that they were much clearer and also the camera was steady, helping to ensure that our work looked professional. Therefore, it's possible to say that this audience feedback was really helpful, given that when you watch the trailer now, you can see that the way in which we have reshoot the shot makes the shot look a lot more professional and hence improves the quality of our work. I learnt from my audience feedback that I would need to include a shot of the production company early on with the trailer. Audiences expect to see this given that it helps them to understand which company produced the film. It also helps the film appeal to a wider target demographic given that some people will want to watch the film because they like the producers. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that in order to give my film the best possible chance of appealing to a wide target demographic, I would need to insert a shot that showed them who the production company was. This was needed to be early on in the trailer, and I learnt that it was important for it to be of a long enough duration, given that it would give the audiences chances to read and take in this information. As you can see from my first cut, I did not include this screen. Therefore, my trailer lacked a manner of professionalism, meaning that I learnt from my audience feedback that it was really vital to include this shot. Therefore, I went back into iMovie and edited my trailer so that I could include this shot, thus making my trailer more professional. Here you can see how I learnt from my audience feedback, given that I was able to go back into my trailer and edit it so that it included a screen that told them about the production company. This shows how I learnt from my audience feedback different ways in order to make my trailer look more realistic and like a real trailer. This therefore shows that I learnt a lot from my audience feedback about not only how to improve the shots and sound within my trailer, but also the additional information that is vital to include within the trailer, thus meaning that my trailer conformed to format conventions of a thriller trailer in a more conventional manner. I received audience feedback about how to improve specific shots within my trailer to ensure that they conform to the thriller genre in a more conventional manner. One shot that I was told to improve was the shot of Georgia looking in the mirror. From the first attempt of the shot, you can see we filmed this shot in daylight. However, this daylight created a happy and bright atmosphere, which was not really conventional for the line she was saying. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback to improve this shot, I should film this shot at night, where the lights around the mirror would have a more dramatic impact. I also learnt from my audience feedback that I would need to be a bit further away so that you could see the mirror more dramatically. This would therefore help the film to conform to genre conventions in a more appropriate manner, and therefore improve the quality of my work. As you can see, I was able to learn from this feedback by reshooting the shot at night. This meant that the lights around the mirror had a more dramatic impact and helped to create an eerie and tense atmosphere, thus meaning that my shot conformed to the conventions of the thriller genre in a more appropriate manner. I was also able to capture it in more of a mid shot, meaning that you could see the lights around the mirror, helping to frame the shot in a neater manner. This therefore shows that I learnt from my audience feedback about manners in which I could improve the shots within my trailer to ensure that they conform to the conventions of the thriller genre in a more appropriate manner, and thus help to create the eerie and tense atmosphere I was needing. Although I learnt that the manner in which I had captured this shot had improved the quality of the shot, I received audience feedback informing me that I needed to edit the shot within iMovie to change the colours of the shot and thus make it more eerie and tense. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that it is important to consider how to edit the colours within your shots after you have filmed them, and not just think about what you have filmed. Therefore, I learnt from going back into iMovie and changing the colours of the shot that I could make the shot more eerie and tense, thus meaning it would conform to the thriller genre more. Therefore, I learnt a lot from my audience feedback about different ways in which I could improve the quality of my trailer, not only so that it looked more like a trailer, but so that the shots were edited and cut in a manner that was really professional and helped to create the tense and eerie atmosphere that I was looking for. I learnt from my audience feedback that the shot I had included of pills was really effective, given that pills are an iconic image which are associated with the thriller genre, and more specifically the psychological thriller genre. Therefore, from my audience feedback, I learnt that I should endeavour to include more iconic images of things like pills and knives in order to help my audience decode that my film was a thriller film. Given that I received this feedback during the production stage of my work, it meant that I still had the camera. This was really good given that I learnt from my audience feedback about what extra footage I could shoot in order to help my audience identify the genre of my film. Therefore, from this audience feedback, I learnt from what they had said about iconic images and went away and filmed some more footage of iconic images such as knives and pills. This would help my audience understand that the film I was promoting is a thriller film. Therefore, this audience feedback was really useful given that it allowed me to film extra footage that was going to help my audience decode the genre of my film. As you can see, I learnt from the audience feedback, given that I was then able to edit these shots within my trailer. This then helped my trailer conform to the thriller genre in a more appropriate manner, and also helped to encode meaning for the audience. This therefore shows how I was able to learn from audience feedback by filming extra shots that were going to make it easier and more accessible for my audience to understand the narrative and the genre of my film. I received feedback that the shot of B drowning was really effective, given that as a consumer it made you feel very tense and on edge, thus meaning it conformed to the thriller genre in an appropriate manner. However, I received feedback that in order to make this shot even more effective, I should have a long blackout before the shot. This would help the audience feel nervous and on edge, given that they would not know what shot is coming. Therefore, it would make the shot more effective and have more impact, thus meaning that the audience felt more tense and on edge. Therefore, I was able to learn from my feedback about ways in which I could edit the shot and readjust the shot so that it was more effective and made the audience feel tense and on edge, given that this was the primary purpose of the shot. Therefore, as you can see from my new attempt, I prolonged the blackout before the shot, not by too much given that this would look unnatural and strange, but just by a slight amount given that this built up the tension and thus made the audience feel more tense and on edge. One thing that I did receive audience feedback on that was understandable was the fact that in my first cut of the trailer, the ends of the trailer did not have many action shots. This meant that the climax was not really built, given that you did not feel tense or on edge from the things that the characters were doing. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that in order to conform better to the genre, I would need to refilm some shots that were more tense and unsettling. Therefore, I would need to film some action shots in order to get the fast pace and tense atmosphere that was needed within my trailer. This was an element missing, and my audience feedback informed me of this. Therefore, I learnt from my audience feedback that in order to improve the quality of my work and develop my trailer further, one really good way would be to organise another filming day and focus specifically on filming action shots. I also learnt that my fast-paced editing that I had put in towards the end of the trailer would have more effect if the shots were action shots. They would have more effect given that the fast-paced action and the fast-paced editing would make the audience feel really tense and on edge, given that they wouldn't be able to look at things for a long duration. Therefore, I learnt that I really needed to reshoot some shots in order to make this end section of my trailer much more effective. As you can see, I learnt from my audience feedback, given that I rearranged another filming day where I focused just on the action shots. As you can see from my footage, I got some really good shots on this day that were just focused on action shots that would help to create a high and intense atmosphere. Therefore, it is possible to say that I learnt from my audience feedback about extra things that I could film in order to improve the quality of my work. Therefore, now when you watch my trailer back and the new version of my trailer, you are able to see the way in which I was able to insert these action shots in order to increase the tense and eerie atmosphere felt within my trailer. This therefore meant that the action shots I filmed were a success, given that they helped to make the trailer feel more tense and unsettling. This therefore shows how I learned a lot from my audience feedback, given that I was able to improve my work by filming more shots that were going to help encode the tense and eerie atmosphere that is needed within the thriller genre.